Welcome to the AIM podcast series. I am Mike Allen, and I serve AIM as their member engagement manager. AIM is a global industry alliance which represents the interest of everyone using barcoding, RFID, and related data capture technologies, including manufacturers, software vendors, integrators, governments, and end users. AIM membership is about supporting standards, community, advocacy, and knowledge. Specifically, you will receive early access to industry technical research and information. Your membership gives you the opportunity to influence the direction of our industry and actively participate in research. Belonging and participating with your peers will increase credibility for your products, services, and organization. I'm here today with the president of ID Integration, Gary Moe. ID Integration is celebrating 20 years of providing effective IUID, UDI, and RFID solutions. Gary will be speaking today about the industry and what he has seen over the past 20 years at ID Integration. So first, Gary, tell me a little more about ID Integration.
Sure. Thanks, Michael, and I'm happy to be here today. And we've been a AIM member for, maybe 15 years, so we appreciate the work you guys do to give you too much of a plug. But ID Integration, we have kind of an interesting background, I think. We're based out of Seattle, Washington area. And we actually started out as a manufacturer's representative of selling industrial equipment when I started on back in the 1980s out of college, in the mid-80s. And it's interesting, during that time in the Seattle area, we were heavily, a large industry was shipbuilding. We had Todd Shipyard, Lockheed, we had people building big cranes, and the market really shifted towards the end of the 1980s, mainly because of our high labor rates up here, that a lot of that business went down to the south and overseas. So we saw quite a decrease in our business, and we had to be flexible and look for new products and opportunities. And part of what we saw as an opportunity was parts marking and traceability requirements that were coming out. So as a manufacturer's representative, we began selling and representing a laser marking system company, Dotpeen Technologies and Marking. And it was interesting, during our laser part marking training down in Orlando, Florida, we were introduced to the 2D data matrix code. When we were down there for training, we saw them laser etching this little checkerboard pattern into a piece of metal and into a ceramic, and they said they were working with NASA as a way to put barcodes on the ceramic tiles of the space shuttle. And we said, wow, that's, we've never heard of that or seen that before. And so we got more information, and immediately we thought about Boeing, and they were one of our customers. So that goes back to 1995, when we actually introduced the 2D data matrix code to the Boeing Commercial Airplane Group out here in Seattle. And they had heard a little bit about what was going on with NASA and the 2D data matrix code, and they brought us out to the 777 manufacturing and final assembly area up in Everett, Washington, and they showed us a challenge they were having with tracking drill bits and cutters and tooling for the 777 wing fastening system. And at the time, they would do 16 manual tool changes on every wing. They would pull out drawings. The operator would look at the drawing for the machining operation and say, oh, I need a 1/4-inch drill bit. And he'd try to find this drill bit in his bucket full of tools. And, it was easy to make errors. And so that was our first project, where we actually laser etched 100,000 square data matrix code on Boeing 777 wing fastening system tools, like cutters and drill bits and button dies, and we did a lot of testing, and it was amazing. We were amazed at how reliable and robust the data matrix code was. We actually ran cutters, Boeing did, probably 10 times through the cycle of machining, cleaning, regrinding, and we were still able to read the data matrix code. So that was a very successful first project for us, and after that they took us up to down south to where they do wing fastening, or the structural parts that they put on the wings, and they were having similar problems with getting good tracking, and we tested dot peen marking directly on the structural parts. That was successful, but drawing changes became a big issue in cost, and we were not able to put dot peen directly on all the Boeing structural parts at the time. And that's when we started talking to Boeing and their research and development people about using RFID. And this is back in 1999, 20 years ago, and we had a concept to actually use the microchips that are put into the pets for tracking. Like at the vet, when you put a little microchip into the neck of the pet, and we were familiar with that technology at the time, and we introduced that to Boeing with some of the readers and a concept to build a rugged and durable plastic that we could insert the microchip into and then tie it on or insert into the rivet holes on the structural parts. Boeing liked that idea. We made a proposal, and then at that time we received a contract, and we said, well, it's probably time to maybe start a new company, and that's when actually ID Integration was formed back in February of 1999, and our first project was the RFID tracking for structural parts at Boeing for their structural parts. The project was very successful. One of the benefits of using that technology was they were using tags that had to be taken off at certain processes like shot peen, acid etch, and painting, and they wanted a tag that could remain on that part after it was out of the cutter mill, and that could make it through the whole process. And the RFID tag could do that in the rugged plastic housing we made. But the challenge was, and we were able to read it at the end and integrate that with the inkjet system. But the problem was they wanted to have a part number, have human readable on the part. And at the time, and also 20 years ago, the readers we were using kind of looked like Star Wars. They were a big panel type reader and a handheld. And I think the cost, I want to say, was $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and it just wasn't really practical. The test and the RFID technology worked well, but from a process and how that worked on the shop floor, it didn't. So out of that, Boeing decided to use dot peen tags to track the structural parts, and they actually still use that process we developed for them 20 years ago, and we actually just integrated a couple new dot peen systems within the last couple years at Boeing for that same process. So that was kind of our initial, really getting involved with, Boeing on some of the research and implementation of direct part marking technologies. And during that time in 1999 and 2000, Boeing and Airbus developed this ATA Spec 2000 barcoding initiative, where they wanted to put barcodes on flyable parts to make it have better tracking and traceability for the airplane parts. And because of our work with Boeing, we were considered their technical expert, and they allowed us to present at supplier symposiums, and that's during that time we were introduced to a lot of the Tier 1, Tier 2 aerospace part suppliers, like Honeywell and Parker and Goodrich and companies like that. And then came September 11th, 2001, and all that work and, was kind of when the aerospace industry after September 11th really took a hit, and they weren't working on newer technologies. So that kind of that market went away almost overnight, but during that time, we were introduced by the Boeing commercial people to the Boeing Chinook helicopter group in Philadelphia, and they had recently had a fleet grounding of the Chinooks. They had some bad material from a supplier, and they were not able to identify which helicopters the material was on. They had to ground the Chinook helicopter fleet, find the bad parts, and so it wasn't good. So Boeing was tasked with having a better configuration management software and accountability for the Chinook, and they realized right away that having their maintainers and the war fighters and soldiers having to hand type information on parts into a database was not going to be reliable, and they had heard what Boeing Commercial was doing with their barcoding and direct part marking initiative, and we were introduced to the Boeing Helicopter and Army Chinook Group back in 2000 and began work on that project that we still support today for the Army and for Boeing. You mentioned the UID policy. That happened in 2003 and 2004. We were involved in helping in the development of that policy and still support IUID integration implementations today. And I might mention, it's interesting now, the ATA Spec 2000 initiative, that was 1999, 2000, 2001, has now been reintroduced by both Boeing and Airbus, but now they're requiring high memory RFID tags on flyable airplane parts. So ID integration is a systems integrator and provides the printers, the readers, the tags, and integration at the aerospace suppliers. So that just gives you a little background that goes kind of way back. And I was looking, cleaning up my office here about a month ago, and I found some of those original RFID tags and rugged plastic housings in one of our drawers. So I pulled that out, and it's kind of interesting as to see the changes of technology over the years.
Yeah, and all that information was very interesting. And you did bring up Boeing, so I wanted to ask, who are your top 3 clients, and how has ID integration solved their problems, and what was their return on investment?
Well, I kind of mentioned, definitely Boeing and the U.S. Army have been excellent customers over the years. And, some of the benefits of implementing barcoding, direct part marking, most of the AIM, members and different industries know, is better traceability of your assets, your tools, reduced inventory. A big thing in our industry, in the military and the aerospace, is compliancy to standards and safety. So that's a big benefit. One of our a long-term customer that we've worked with over the years is Honeywell Aerospace and Engines, and we began working with them with ATA Spec 2000. And it's interesting, many of the commercial aerospace parts manufacturers and Tier 1, Tier 2 suppliers sell to the commercial market, but they also manufacture a lot of military parts and assets. So from our standpoint, a lot of those initial customers that we were working on with the ATA Spec 2000 barcoding, going back 15 to 20 years ago, we were able to help them out on their IUID marking requirements and buying equipment and scanners and printers and laser marking systems. So Honeywell's been a great customer, and their MRO and their various manufacturing companies and sites, even throughout the world, over into Europe, Asia, Australia, we have supported. And now today, it's interesting that we've been working with them a lot on how to now get a return on investment for that work of uniquely identifying their parts, assets, tools through the use of some of the newer RFID, passive, active technology, cloud software. So it's taken a while, I would say, and we'll probably talk about that later. But some of these companies we've been working with now for 20 years, they were really doing parts marking, traceability, putting unique IDs, whether it's RFID, whether it's barcode, direct part marking, because of their contractual requirements and because of compliancy, and they weren't really using it to the fullest benefit to get return on investment, increase efficiency, get better visibility and traceability in their manufacturing processes. But that's changing today, and that's what we're really excited about, that companies are starting to use the barcodes, the RFID technology to improve their internal processes.
Very interesting. And what has been the biggest change in the technology you've seen over the past 2 decades?
Well, definitely from RFID, we'll kind of start with that. I mean, from our initial work 20 years ago where, we had to manufacture our own essential metal mount rugged RFID tag, it's, as a systems integrator, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to buy and integrate good products to our customers. And today, I mean, we talk about 2 decades ago, but I would say even in the last maybe 2 to 4 years, we're very excited about the new technologies of RFID tags out for metal mount, hard tags. One of the new technologies we're very excited about is the, I guess what we call the integrated RFID label technology, metal mount tags that can be printed through an RFID printer, and we can put the human readable information, we can put a barcode and print that on the label stock, but we can also encode the RFID chip in the label. So that whole issue we had with Boeing 20 years ago where they wanted to have the part number and serial number information actually on the RFID tag is now easily done and can be more automated into their processes. So that's been a huge change for RFID with the tags, and also now with the different readers that we have available, where there's many like Bluetooth RFID readers now that integrate with smartphones and tablets. The fixed readers are, the functionality, ease of setup is getting better. We're really excited about some new products out in the market now for Wi-Fi RFID readers that don't require a lot of Cat5 and cabling infrastructure that can tie in with an RFID network, and we just can set that up and run 110 power to the reader, which makes it easy for setup and gives flexibility to our customers. We're also, a big change we've seen that we didn't have many years ago is active RFID technology. The price, the reliability is getting better, tags that create their own ad hoc mesh network for location tracking, having the cost and performance go down quite a bit has been giving us a lot of good options and great return on investments for our customers. Another, in looking back at, in barcode and direct part marking scanner improvements, when we were originally laser etching the Boeing tooling, we almost built like a supermarket checkout stand on our own with a vision system and software, and where the light shot out the top and they could read the tools. But and some of these could be in the $5,000 to $20,000 for a reader station in a tool room. Well, now we have DPM 2D barcode scanners that are around $500 that can read the really hard laser etch, dot peen marks on metal. So that's been a great improvement that we've seen. And I guess one thing, especially I would say within the last couple of years, especially maybe being up here in the Seattle market with a lot of aerospace parts manufacturers and suppliers, I know it's difficult to, find employees. A lot of companies are looking to, hire people. And when we go out to a facility now, it's, some of the engineers we work with, apologize for not getting back to us on email, but say they don't even have time to sit at their desk during the day. They're running around, but what that means is they're using their mobile phones and tablets now for doing business. And some of the new cloud software technology for asset tracking and running on your smartphones and apps and up in the web and the cloud is really opening up new opportunities and making that business case and really getting the buy-in from the people on the shop floor. So we see that growing and expanding into the future, but that's been huge as we tie all that in to for companies to implement this new technology.
So, as you stated earlier, you've had a lot of success in RFID. Are you seeing continued growth in this area and other technologies?
Yes. I was talking with my engineering director, a few weeks ago, and we were just, talking, I'd say 2-3 years ago, maybe 80% of our business was IUID, even UDI, the parts marking side of it, barcoding initiatives. And as of today, that's flipped. I would say probably 80% of our business now is RFID, whether it's active or passive, and including hybrid solutions, where it could be RFID, but barcode integrates well in certain areas too within a company. So that's definitely changing, and where we started off also in aerospace and military parts suppliers market, it's amazing now the diverse industries we're working in, from automotive, medical now is becoming a big opportunity and market for us, hospitals, tracking assets, just general purpose manufacturers. I guess they're hearing about RFID. I think probably the RAIN RFID initiatives and other companies they're getting better educated. So we've definitely are seeing a lot of growth and a lot of opportunities filling up, which is very exciting. And I might, it's also, I would say, from an ID integration standpoint as a systems integrator, it was probably maybe 3 years ago where we had some initial projects with some passive solutions of tracking parts and assets out on the shop floor. And it just, I would say we were very leery to even sign up and take an order. And we just didn't feel the technology in many cases because of maybe the readers or, some of the tags and that were available in the software that, we even told customers we'll come back to in a year or two. We just didn't feel confident in the technology, but that's definitely changed now. So that's probably another reason why 80% of our time, and we see the future and the benefits of using RFID technology.
And to wrap things up, what piece of advice would you like to share with your listeners?
Well, one thing, I did want to touch on also is, and I've been asked this about, and probably next month at RFID Journal, we always hear about, well, gosh, with all the benefits and ROIs and use cases, why hasn't RFID taken off faster? And, we're excited now, with the opportunities, and just maybe to touch on that, I still think part of the problem with RFID implementations and opportunities is there's still a lot of hyping going on about RFID, and a lot of times we come into customers and maybe they've read an article or they heard a story or read something on the web that, you know, the reader manufacturers now are, and they probably can in certain cases, claiming they can read 40 to 60 feet away. So we walk in, I've got a meeting with a manufacturer this afternoon here in Seattle, and that was the first, well, I heard the readers read 40 feet away. Well, he's trying to put, you know, a small RFID tag on a metal tool in his plant. So a lot of that is we have to educate, you know, about RF and the physics and the read ranges and not get kind of hyped up too much in that. I think early on that hurt us where, you know, if a customer's expectations are they're even going to get 15, 20 feet or 10 feet, I mean, there might be applications where we got to get within 1 foot away to get a read on a metal part in a certain environment. So I think really getting the expectations and being honest with the customers about the technology is very important. And also, one thing I think we're all seeing is the importance of IT security these days. Getting the IT department involved in projects and kind of educating them, getting on board is very important. And so, you know, just a couple things, but that's changing, and we're excited about the future opportunities.
Well, thank you for your insights today, Gary.
And Michael, you did. I don't think I answered your last question about what advice I would like to share with listeners. I kind of branched off a little bit there, but
no problem.
Yeah. So there are a couple things, I guess. If you're a listener and you're a manufacturer of anything, essentially, you know, I would just encourage you that now is the time to really start looking at RFID, the smart manufacturing. You hear IoT, Internet of Things. You know, it's important because the competition out there is not just in your local area, maybe here in the U.S., but, you know, the Chinese manufacturers and government have made this a priority. You know, in Europe, the Industry 4.0 manufacturers are really embracing this technology. And it's easy now to just start off slow, you know, to buy a demo kit, you know, just start testing the technology out, buy some readers, some tags. There's, you know, we have quite a few demo kits on our website that are, you know, under $1,000, even one at $500 that just allows you to start testing the technology out. So I would really, you know, encourage that. I think starting out slow, doing a pilot, a proof of concept is wise. You know, I believe that the technology is very solid now, but for a lot of our customers and for our applications, it's more than just the technology. It's also the people in your company. It's the changing processes. So working with a good systems integrator, that they can be very valuable to you in kind of working with your people, you know, looking at process changes. So, but I would really encourage you to, you know, to not wait, to start looking into this. And I think for maybe other integrators and value-added resellers, you know, over our 20 years, we've just seen the importance of taking really good care of your customers, you know, being honest with them, doing a good job, and don't overhype any technology because, you know, they will work with you into the future, and there's a real good opportunities that, like we've seen with many of our customers. And I think also to be flexible, you know, as we see market changes, you know, to look at new technology and be cautious to a certain degree, but we have to embrace it. And again, Michael, I do want to thank, you know, AIM and Mary Lou and the whole team, the excellent work you guys do in education and, about technology and RFID, IoT, and, you're doing a good job, and that's helping companies like us get the message out. So I want to say thank you, and we're looking forward to another 20 years and see what the future holds.
Well, we appreciate the kind words, and thanks again for your time today and all your knowledge.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm glad I was able to share with you a little bit.